Have you ever found yourself awake in the middle of the night, haunted by a decision, a word, or a choice from your past, and felt that heavy tightening in your chest? You keep asking yourself, why did I do that? But in that cycle of guilt, we often forget that those moments are exactly what built the person we are today. To talk about how we can finally make peace with that, I've invited a friend today, Max. It's great to have you here, Max.
It's great to be here, Owen. To be honest, when you invited me, I spent the whole afternoon looking back at the versions of myself from 5 or 10 years ago. It was a strange feeling, partly sad, but also deeply grateful for the journey it took to get here.
I'm curious about that word, grateful. Honestly, I struggle with that. I often get trapped in a loop of regret, thinking, if only I hadn't chosen that path, or if only I'd acted differently. Don't you feel like we are often the harshest judges of our own lives?
We definitely are. It's a constant battle, isn't it? We can forgive others so easily, yet we hold ourselves to these impossible, extreme standards. I used to think that if I didn't beat myself up, it meant I wasn't sorry enough. But eventually, I realized that self-loathing doesn't solve anything, it just keeps us stuck.
It's like keeping yourself chained to the past. But how do we break that cycle? How do we look at that past self, the one we think was so foolish, and actually say, it's okay, you did the best you could?
It comes down to accepting our humanity. We aren't perfect. Everyone makes mistakes, everyone loses their way at some point. The decisions we made back then, right or wrong, were the only ones we were capable of making with the knowledge and maturity we had at that time. To demand that the old you have the wisdom of the current you, isn't that just a little unfair?
That really hits home. I've never truly given my past self a chance to just be human. I've always expected perfection from the start.
Exactly. Treat those mistakes as your luggage, not your cage. If you hadn't stumbled, you wouldn't have this depth, this resilience, and this kindness you have today. Forgiving yourself isn't about erasing the past, it's about putting it in its proper place, as a lesson, not a life sentence.
Max, I really love the idea that the past is a lesson, not a sentence. But if I'm being honest, there are things I've done that still make me cringe today. There were times I was cowardly, or times I put my own interests before others and hurt people I cared about. How do I face that ugliness without feeling disgusted with myself?
That's a very honest question. I've been there, too. There are nights I couldn't sleep just thinking about something cruel I said in anger, or a time I didn't stand up for what was right. But you know, I've realized something. The fact that you feel ashamed today is proof of how much you've changed. You aren't that person anymore.
Are you saying that this regret is actually proof of my growth?
Precisely. If you didn't see the mistake, you'd keep repeating it. But because you feel that shame, it means you've learned, and you won't make that same mistake again. So, don't hate that past version of you. Thank it. It paid the price with its own pride so that you could learn what's right.
It sounds like we should treat our past selves not as enemies to be destroyed, but as old friends who need to be heard and forgiven.
Exactly. Imagine a close friend came to you, crying because they messed something up. Would you stand there and scold them? Would you say, "You're terrible, how could you do that?"
Of course not. I'd make them a cup of tea, sit them down and say, it's okay, what's done is done. What matters is that you'll do better next time.
Then why not treat yourself with that same grace? When you judge yourself, remember that you are hurting the person who should be your closest ally, yourself. Forgiving yourself doesn't mean forgetting, it means understanding. I was wrong, I learned, and because I learned, I don't need to carry this weight anymore.
I think I understand. It's time to stop trying to be perfect. Accepting those scars and those dark spots is the first step toward being whole. We only live once, Max. Why spend it carrying the burden of yesterday?
That's it, Owen. Every mistake is just a puzzle piece. At the time, it might have looked messy or dark, but when you look at the whole picture of your life, without those pieces, it wouldn't be you. Embrace that version of yourself, and tell it, "Thank you for trying your best, now let me take it from here."
Max, I think we've reached a good place mentally. But honestly, it's easier said than done. There are still days when things don't go my way, and the shadow of the past creeps back in, and I start thinking, why am I still stuck in the same place? Is there a way to make this forgiveness mindset more sustainable?
That's a great question. You know, healing isn't a destination, it's a habit. Like brushing your teeth. Whenever that guilt creeps in, I use a little exercise. I place my hand on my heart and ask, what is hurting me right now? Instead of pushing it away, I allow myself to feel that regret for 5 minutes. After those 5 minutes, I tell myself, thank you for the reminder, but I've learned the lesson, and I don't need the weight anymore.
That's very direct but so gentle. I personally like to write. I write letters to my 5 years ago self. Each time I do, I don't feel like I'm talking to a stranger, but rather holding my own inner child. It makes me feel like the protector of my past, rather than its accuser.
Writing is one of the most honest forms of dialogue. And Owen, I want to add one thing. Give yourself plenty of chances. So many of us, once we fail at something, we swear it off entirely, as if we aren't allowed to try again. But we only live once. Why limit yourself because of one failed attempt?
It's true. We're so afraid of being judged, so afraid of being laughed at for repeating old habits. But maybe the greatest courage a human can have is to dare to be wrong, to fix it, and to dare to start over again, more fully and deeply than before. Not because we want to be perfect, but because we want to live a life without regrets.
Exactly. And remember, Owen, being kind to others is a virtue, but being kind to yourself is a survival skill. When you are kind to yourself, you stop projecting that negativity onto those around you. You'll love life more, and you'll be more forgiving. Forgiving yourself is like taking off a heavy coat after a long journey. Only when you take it off can you feel light enough to keep moving forward.
A heavy coat. I really like that image. I think, after our talk today, the biggest thing I'm taking away is freedom. The freedom to stop performing, the freedom to just be human. A person who has made mistakes, who has been bad at times, but who is always striving to be better. I never imagined I'd feel this much lighter after just one conversation. Max, if you had to sum up everything we've said today into one final message for those listening, what would you say?
I just want to say, don't wait until you're perfect to give yourself permission to be happy. Just be you, with all your scars, your mistakes, and your stumbles. Those aren't weaknesses, they are proof that you have truly lived. Forgive yourself as easily and fully as you would forgive the person you love most. Because if you aren't on your own side, who is going to protect you?
That's beautiful. Forgiveness is not condoning, it's liberation. I truly believe that after today's episode, many of you will find the courage to put down the heavy burdens you've been carrying for too long. And speaking of forgiving past versions of ourselves, I want to share something from the heart with all of you watching. If you've seen my previous videos and felt they weren't quite there yet, or perhaps lacked the depth you were looking for, please, have some patience with me. Those were just past versions of me, the necessary stepping stones that helped me learn, grow, and push myself to be better every single day.
And speaking of forgiving past versions of ourselves, I want to share something from the heart with all of you watching. If you've seen my previous videos and felt they weren't quite there yet, or perhaps lacked the depth you were looking for, please have some patience with me. Those were just past versions of me, the necessary stepping stones that helped me learn, grow, and push myself to be better every single day.
Thank you so much, Max, for this incredible conversation. And to all of you listening, if today's talk touched your heart, if you felt heard or even just a little bit lighter, please take a moment to subscribe to the channel. Your support is what gives me the motivation to keep perfecting my craft and creating more meaningful content. I'll see you in the next episode, where we can continue to heal and live our lives to the fullest.